Join us as Ed Foxworth talks with existing business owners, government, and community leaders to uncover what it takes to become an American entrepreneur.
Hello and welcome to another edition of American Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Ed Foxworth. On this show, we attempt to provide you with insight and examples of success in terms of owning and operating a small business. Today, we're focusing in on the restaurant business, a $400 billion a year industry. A place where people meet to talk shop, start or nurture personal relationships, or just plain grab a good and balanced meal. Eateries, bistros, and cafes are places where smiles, and if it's done right, good profits can be done. I caught up with Mr. Patrick Coleman, the owner of Beans and Cornbread, where customer brand loyalty begins with good customer service, great food, and an overwhelming conviction, making him this week's Entrepreneur in Focus. Beans and Cornbread, Northwestern Highway, Southfield, Michigan. Tell me, what got you into this business?
Well, I started out in this business managing restaurants, managing fine dining restaurants.
Okay.
And I always knew that we needed an upscale soul food restaurant in the suburbs. And with my background in fine dining and the food I grew up with, which is comfort food, I decided to, go ahead and open up Beans and Cornbread in 1997.
1997. So you've been in business for a while, but was this what you always wanted to do?
You know what? My mom says when I was growing up, I used to set the table. I was the person that always set the table. So somewhere, I guess I was inspired by what she did and what my grandmother did. Sunday dinners were always fabulous at my grandmother's house. We would go over, she would break out the best china. There was always dressing, there were always several meats, and there I was setting the table.
When you think about food, people often, get really excited about the kind of food that you serve here. But what was your determining factor that made you say soul food is the kind of food in the niche market that we're in to actually serve?
Well, again, I grew up on comfort food. My mom cooked every day, and she cooked, fried chicken and pork chops. And what I wanted to do was take that menu, or take what I grew up on, and just give it a healthier spin and ratchet it up a bit. When you look at this type of food, it's very, very comfortable to people. It's very comforting. And so what we wanted to do was sort of create the type of ambiance where people could come in, feel very comfortable, hear a little jazz music, get great service. It's like coming over to your grandmother or a great aunt's house on Sunday.
I see. So tell us about the types of dishes. What are the signature dishes? What can people expect when they come here to eat?
Well, what we do an upscale version of Southern cooking. We do some traditional and we do some non-traditional soul food. You may walk into the restaurant and you'll see catfish and fried chicken, but you'll see some non-traditional items such as our salmon croquettes. Now, these aren't the salmon croquettes, Ed, that your grandmother used to prepare.
Right.
We've taken salmon croquettes. We don't fry them. What we do is we roast them in the oven. We garnish them with roasted red pepper sauce. So that's sort of our Epicurean side. It's also garnished with portobello mushrooms. As you can see by some of the entrees and desserts, we give it a wonderful presentation. We really take it to the next level. We give it an Epicurean spin.
Tell us a little bit then, when you have these kinds of meals, what kind of responses are you getting back? What kind of feedback are you getting from the people when they leave here?
Well, you know what? I'm into instant gratification. So to see someone sit down and come in a restaurant, first of all, when you walk in, you're overtaken by the smells. It smells wonderful. So the smells are very intoxicating. When people sit down and to see them, eating catfish, there are a lot of folks in southeastern Michigan with southern roots. And when they come to a restaurant like this, it takes them home. It takes them back home, down home. So it's very rewarding when we see people come in and they're enjoying their fried chicken or enjoying their ribs. It's really, really a great feeling for us.
This decision of yours to go into entrepreneurship, did you always have that inspiration? Were you always interested in not working for someone else, or did you kind of go through a process?
I sort of went through a process, but my dad was an entrepreneur. And so my dad was in the dry cleaning business in Northwest Detroit. And at a very early age, 8, 9 years old, my dad was teaching us about inventory control, about cash flow, and things of that sort. So somewhere in the back of my mind, that sort of stuck with me. And I think it's important that we do own our own businesses. We need more small businesses. We need more entrepreneurs. So, one of the things, Ed, that I'm most proud of is, people will ask me, what do you do for a living? I'm not a restaurateur. I'm a job provider. And so, that to me is probably the most rewarding aspect. First and foremost, I provide jobs.
American Entrepreneur will return in a moment.